My head hurts so much. Mounting is terrible. There's literally nothing to do in this headset. Can't download anything external. Seriously, YouTube doesn't work in 360 degrees. Why did I spend $500,000 on this junk? I've had enough of this. Here's a decent option. Finally, an adequate Chinese alternative to the Apple Vision Pro at an affordable price. It has all the best features of the Apple Vision Pro, standalone games, and PC VR. Now I will tell you in more detail what this device is, whether it's worth buying as a replacement for the Pico 4 Ultra, what new features are already working, and if it makes sense to get it instead of the Quest 3. In general, all the most pressing questions are addressed in this review. The contents of the headset have changed for the worse. Firstly, the power adapter is no longer included. Hello, the trend has been picked up by Apple. Secondly, there is no nose pad to block the light coming from below the mask, but the molding remains. Please be kind and purchase separately. There are 2 batteries in the controllers, and for that, thank you. In terms of appearance, the Pico 4 Ultra and the regular version are almost identical. Here, it's a case of try to find 10 differences. The most obvious ones are the Mr. Cameras, controllers without rings, and the absence of the orange line on the ring at the back. Microphones in different locations, and the air vents and sound holes are now metallic. Plastic is slightly different, rougher. Well, that seems to be everything. Let's address the issues with the old accessories right away. Which ones are compatible and which ones are not? The magnetic lenses are compatible. The front case covers do not fit. Unfortunately, the Boba VR mounts do not fit either. The casing of the back part remains the same, but for some reason, they changed the placement of the cushion clips. If desired, it might be possible to make some adjustments, but we didn't pursue that. The Zyber cover fits well. Masks fit perfectly, and the stock ones from the sets are identical. The cases fit, but the controller covers are clearly off. The controllers, it's not just that they no longer have a ring. The platform itself has become larger. Texture has been added to the sticks. I didn't really like them on the old version because my finger would slip off. And here is a comparison with the Quest controllers. The round platform and handle are the same size, except that the Pico ones are heavier. Quest 3 controller weighs 128 grams, the Pico 4 weighs 183 grams, and the Pico 4 Ultra weighs 164 grams. In terms of comfort on the head, the Pico 4 Ultra feels exactly the same as its predecessor, meaning the issue with the Chinese mask remains. If you have the Pico 4 with a third-party face mask and you are switching to the Pico 4 Ultra, you can keep the mask. The specifications of the lenses, resolution, field of view, and screen refresh rate all remain the same as the old model. Color reproduction has been improved and brightness has been increased. RAM has been raised from 8 GB to 12 GB. The most important thing is that they improved the processor. Now, it is the same as in the Quest 3. This means that the graphics of standalone games should become better. To be precise, the rendering resolution has increased by 62%. The regular Pico 4 had a rendering resolution of 1504 by 1504, while the Pico 4 Ultra has a resolution of 1920 by 1920. Right. The pass-through mode will now be enhanced due to the 2 cameras and depth sensor. Battery capacity has increased, which makes sense. The mixed reality and processor consume more resources. Spatial video has been introduced, along with support for 45-watt chargers. The Quest 3 doesn't have that. Prices are listed in euros because these headsets are only sold officially in Europe. The operating system with its interface has also changed. Pico 4 Ultra has added new features, but we'll discuss that later. I know why everyone came here in the first place. Of course, we wanted to learn about the quality of the displays. We encountered a dead pixel, but it didn't bother us at all. First, let's compare it to the original Pico. Well, everything is pretty much as they claimed in the presentation. Color reproduction has really changed for the better. When comparing head-to-head, it turns out that the regular Pico has a yellower color. Brightness is also lacking. Looking at the picture has indeed become more pleasant. This is noticeable even in home environments. We activated the same VR spaces and noticed that the rendering resolution has improved. In the Pico 4, objects in the distance seem to shimmer, while in the Pico 4 Ultra, everything is clearer and there is no shimmer. Otherwise, everything is the same. In a dark location with a bright element in the center, there is a presence of reflection. Either I got used to it, or for some reason, the increased brightness makes them less noticeable in the Pico 4 Ultra. Sweet spot, black color. Mosquito net, aberrations, Mura effect. There is a complete match with the Pico 4 Ultra. It's a pity that the resolution of the displays hasn't increased, but on the other hand, what is available is quite sufficient for comfortable VR gaming, watching movies, or working. If you don't deliberately look closely, you won't see the pixel grid. What was really lacking was brightness and proper color reproduction. Compared to the Pico 4 Ultra, the regular Pico 4 seems to have night mode enabled. Quest 3 has fewer reflections, but the Mura effect is more noticeable, while the color reproduction is now roughly the same. I know that in the end, there will be people who say, but the blue color differs between them, and you didn't notice that. Okay, I think for most people, both images now look exactly the same. We have previously mentioned that the difference between the Pico 4 and the Quest 3 is small, and now with the Pico 4 Ultra, it has become even less noticeable. Now about our favorite mixed reality. If you tap the side of the headset twice, it activates the mode that Pico calls C4. Basically, it's the same as on the Pico 4 when the entire interface disappears, and all you can do is go get a drink of water. To switch to full Mr. mode, you need to press the button in the interface. Then, the virtual windows are saved, and we can start working here. The resolution of the cameras has significantly improved compared to the Pico 4. If you look at the monitor from about a meter away, it's impossible to read text on the Pico 4. Situation is not great on the Pico 4 Ultra either, but at least it's possible to do so. The colors have improved, but there is more noise in the Pico 4 Ultra. Now, regarding the Quest 3, I realize I unfairly criticized the third Quest and its distortions in the last video. In fact, you really have to look closely to find them. Ultimately, if you compare, there are almost no distortions in the Pico 4 Ultra and the Quest 3, and the camera resolution of the Ultra is slightly higher. However, the MR on the Quest 3 is still better. First, the Pico 4 Ultra has more noise. Second, it has a terrible dynamic range. I will now show you an example of what this means. Here is a blue background. In the Pico 4 Ultra, I see this blue color. In a post-processed image on the Quest 3, everything is clear. Mixed reality games. I would like to say something special about them, but they are absolutely the same as on the Quest 3, just with more noise and fewer games. In the store, these games are now marked with a special icon. There is no separate category for Mr. Games, at least not yet. You have to manually sit down and search for these applications. I already mentioned that we went to the KPIK event for the announcement of new products. We flew in from another city and without luggage, so we needed to find a way to pack all the video equipment for the trip. So, the feature that the Pico 4 Ultra can now boast about compared to the Quest 3 is the ability to capture spatial videos. Let's go in order. You have 4 ways to obtain volumetric photos and videos. The first is to capture using the headset. Second is to capture on the iPhone 15 Pro or Pro Max. The third is on the Quest devices through the Quest Games Optimizer program. And the fourth is on special devices. In fact, a small segment didn't make it into our video about first impressions. We entered the demo area where they showcased 3D photos and videos. There were, as I understand it, partners of Pico offering to buy the Aerial One device. It's a little device with cameras specifically for shooting spatial media content without a built-in battery. It simply connects to a smartphone. The person at the booth said that such a device costs $1,000. Recording a video on the Pico is the easiest. You just need to open the camera app and everything is clear. Even grandma can figure this out. Either way, there is a feature that allows you to shoot video without having to wear the headset on your head, meaning you can record directly from your hands. This feature just needs to be activated in the settings. Video quality is actually quite good. It's clear that the depth, clarity, and immersion of the Apple Vision Pro cannot be compared. Well, sorry, but the price points are completely different. For the budget segment, it's really great they uploaded a video shot with the Quest 3, and the 3D effect is preserved. This is in the opposite direction. Videos shot on Pix and Shot will not work. Reviewing on Pico, a special application is provided. At the time of our tests, there is no European firmware available. It would be disappointing if it comes out on the day the video is released, but what can we do? We all looked at the Chinese version. The Pico 4 Ultra will be released on the European market on September 20th, and it seems that it will be launched then. Now, a bit about the operating system. Out of the box, it comes with firmware 5.10.1U, and we updated it to the latest 5.11.0U. Now, Pico OS is based on Android 14. Guys, I don't understand the point of having more than 5 monitors. Why? Well, when there were about 13 apps, the next one started crashing, and the headset automatically lowered the resolution. But it also heavily depends on the power of the applications being launched. In general, it is not possible to run the promised 20 applications. If you temper your expectations a bit and run 6 applications, including the Hank game, a video service similar to YouTube, 2 TikTok apps, and a messenger, then everything works. You can open a browser or another flat application without closing the game, but you cannot use them simultaneously. You'll have to choose either to watch a video or to play. When returning to the game, all open windows minimize, and you can't even listen to the background music. Both headsets look quite similar overall, but there are still a couple of major changes. It is now possible to customize the icons in the dock. You can swap them around, replace them with others, or even go all out and pin as many as 17 applications. The library button has moved from right to left. Transition icon to Mr. Mode has appeared, and at the bottom, there is a bar and dots for interacting with the window. In the bottom row, there are two new buttons, Auto Detection for Pico Connect and Virtual Environment. There is also a new menu item, Room Outlining for Mixed Reality Games. The process is very precise and quick. Pico digitized our entire first floor of the apartment, determines where the door, table, chairs, and walls are on its own. Later, when you launch Mr. Games, virtual objects will take into account the placement of furniture. For example, a digital ball will bounce off the walls instead of passing through them. A unique lying mode has appeared, but it's not quite the same as on the Quest devices. In this mode, the Pico transitions to three-dimensional tracking, and you can simply recenter the headset in any direction, including upwards. The developer mode is activated just as easily as on the old version. In the future, support for travel mode will be added, allowing users to watch movies or play in mixed reality while traveling. Pico said it will be next year. It's pity that there is no direct touch. It's unclear whether they will implement interface interaction like on a tablet. Although hand tracking on the Pico 4 Ultra is not particularly appealing to use. With updates, tracking is gradually improving, but it is still very far from the Quest 3. In fact, some new features have not yet been released. For example, there is no mirroring of iOS and Android smartphones in the VR space. At the presentation, we were able to take a look at the ultra-wide virtual monitor at 210 degrees output from the computer via Pico Connect. Unfortunately, this feature is also missing. It's not possible to connect a physical keyboard and mouse. All the mentioned innovations will arrive in the fourth quarter of this year. The Pico 4 Ultra has introduced several new environments. The scenes are simply incredibly beautiful, but it's a shame that you can no longer walk in them. It is very similar in quality to the Apple Vision Pro. You can no longer change skyboxes in old environments, but instead, there is now a feature for generating environments using artificial intelligence. It sounds great, but in practice, it is disappointing. You can generate up to 10 skyboxes a day. This is not a system like in Midjourney, where you write a text prompt and receive an image based on your requests. No. Here there are 4 drop-down lists from which you select a characteristic. For example, in styles, you can choose realism or anime. In elements, you can highlight 2 items at the same time. Then, we select from the list titled atmosphere, ready-made words, and the same in landscapes. We click Generate, wait a couple of seconds, and it provides 2 scenes for preview in a small window. After selecting the desired option, it upscales the image for a while, and we move into the environment created by artificial intelligence. And here is a very interesting point. You can generate for free, but to save it, only 3 environments. After that, you have to pay. One scene costs 5 yuan, which is about 60 rubles. Prices may be higher in Europe. Generative VR environments will not be exclusive to the Pico 4 Ultra. It will arrive on Pico 4, Pico 4 Pro, and Pico Neo 3 in the first half of next year. There are supposedly many games in the store. It's clear that half of them are different in the Chinese version, but some of the old standalone games simply do not work. The situation with the store on the Pico 4 Ultra now resembles that of the Pico 4 Pro. Some games that are available on the regular Pico do not have support on the Ultra. We logged into the same account on all devices. This account has the purchased first Arizona Sunshine. It runs fine on the regular Pico. On the Pico 4 Ultra, you can find a game icon in the Not Installed tab, but you cannot launch it. It states that the device is incompatible with this application. Red Matter 2 was showcased in the presentation as an example of improved graphics on the Pico 4 Ultra, so testing began with it. Well, I want to say that in games, the difference between the 2 Picos is more noticeable than just in the environments. I am 100% sure that no graphic patches have been released yet, even for Red Matter 2. Comparing the visuals on the 2 Picos, here's what I can say. On a regular Pico, everything appears yellowish, the image is more blurry, has a stair-step effect, and in the distance, everything becomes mush. In the Pico 4 Ultra, you can clearly see that the rendering resolution has increased. So, in addition to the image becoming normal without any yellow tint, it has also become brighter and sharper. Consider this as a built-in Quest game optimizer. For those who are not aware, this is a third-party program for Quest that allows you to enhance the graphics in standalone games. But right now, this game definitely looks best on the Quest 3 because a patch with textures and shadows from the developers has been released for it. To keep everything fair, we looked for a game that is available on both the Pico 4 Ultra and the Quest 3 so that it has reasonably good graphics, does not require a separate patch for the Quest, and can be purchased on the Chinese firmware. All the stars aligned for the Raid Meter one. And here, guys, I was blown away by the huge difference compared to the regular Pico 4. The picture, Wow, looks almost like the Quest 3. Pico 4 Ultra has more distortions than the Quest 3. Unfortunately, this problem has not been resolved in any way, but the clarity is simply exceptional, especially when comparing head-to-head. Either way, I will praise the tracking of the controllers. It really works very well. Oh, there are, of course, some issues. If you had your hands too close to the headset or behind you, but I'm not nitpicking, because that's normal for inside-out tracking. I think everyone is very curious about what's going on with the Yo-Ho-Ho content. The operating systems of the Pico 4 and Pico 4 Ultra are a bit different, but it seems the situation will be equally bad. Picaboy knows that with the new firmware updates, free content is cut from the Pico every time. There's good news. Supports from the Quest 3 by Motvi are working, thus look at the magic. I'm playing Beat Saber on the Pico 4 Ultra. It feels like I'm wearing the Quest 3, but with heavier controllers. We also downloaded Aim Lab and Eye of the Temple. Everything works just wonderfully. PC applications like Telegram, P-Launcher, Lightning Launcher, and Kinopoiesk, which can be installed legally, also run without issues. I will return to the issue with the first Arizona. Since it was purchased on our account and won't launch, I was curious if there is any way to revive it or if the game is lost. We tried to sideload the APK. There shouldn't be any license checks. Since we purchased it, unfortunately, that didn't help. The APK installed, the game appeared in the list of installed applications, but it has not progressed beyond the loading screen. Dima Pickalen suggested that this is due to different versions of Android, so there is a big question regarding the compatibility of old applications. So what's going on with the games under the black flag? Let me remind you that our firmware is 5.11.0, the latest at the time of recording. PUI version 6.2.0. After the reset, the headset did not connect to Wi-Fi at all. With the Chinese firmware, this is easier, as the headset loads immediately without logging into an account. We installed the games by manually renaming them in APK Tool M. Surprisingly, we were able to launch the games, but everything worked until the first connection of the headset to the internet. After that, it started showing an error with a suggestion to buy the game. Moreover, even the one that is not available in the Chinese version of a store. Just so you know, we have done the preparatory work to disable updates. In general, we are waiting for new ways to install such games. I believe all news and instructions on this topic will promptly appear in the Picoland Telegram. This whole story is for standalone users. Most Pico users get this headset for its connection with the PC. The relationship with the official Piconex software is a real emotional roller coaster. 1 month it worked poorly, and now Pico has released an update, and the picture has become crystal clear. To put it simply, without a head-to-head comparison, the Quest 3, Pico 4, and Pico 4 Ultra deliver excellent visuals. For the average user, just having the Pico 4 is enough. However, if we start nitpicking and engaging in pixel hunting, then we have the following results. It's the wired connection. The 3K4 is the worst in terms of color reproduction and clarity, and in second place, believe it or not, is the Quest 3. Pico 4 Ultra turned out to be the best in terms of image quality and rendering distance. Although the difference between the last two is minimal, it depends on the software settings and your computer. We hit almost maximum settings, with 90 Hz and a bit rate of 1000 megabits through the cable. With parameters on Pico 4 Ultra, it's hard to play Beat Saber. The controllers feel sluggish with noticeable delays. Alex and other slower games are the same. In games, it's not noticeable, but the picture quality, my respect. To play games with fast movements, it's enough to simply lower the bitrate. Now about Wi-Fi. In the tests, we set the H.264 codec to 300 megabits, while the maximum bitrate for AV1 was set to 150 megabits. With the AV1 codec, there is a slight difference in picture quality, but just like with the Quest 3, the difference is not significant enough to justify the extra cost. It is important to clarify that we have a separate router for VR, and it is located 1 meter away from the headset. At the same time, on a regular Pico 4, frame drops and stuttering begin to occur at a bitrate above 150 megabits per second. According to our tests, the Pico 4 Ultra supports higher bitrates, which means that the image quality in PC VR will be better than on the regular Pico. We'll leave the super detailed Wi-Fi tests to the tech enthusiasts and nitpickers. I know there will be toxic commenters who will say that the portal is nonsense because we didn't detail the results of the tests that lasted half a day on all 3 headsets. Fine, you can deal with that heat yourselves. I provided the brief and most important information. This is all the data from Pico Connect Virtual Desktop is not available on the Chinese firmware. By the way, the Pico 4 Ultra now supports Wi-Fi 7. We don't have such a router available, but Wi-Fi 6 is sufficient for us. By the way, in terms of battery life, the Pico 4 Ultra is quite good. We conducted measurements on all headsets again in the game Raid Matter 2. Pico 4 Ultra completely discharged in 2 hours and 15 minutes. For comparison, we measured the Quest 3 alongside it, which lasted only 1.5 2.5 hours. Just so you know, the latest firmware is 69. Pico 4 Ultra discharged in 2 hours and 10 minutes. All measurements were taken with the display at maximum brightness. We also tested the fast charging. We didn't have a 45-watt adapter, only a 67-watt one. It charged from 0 to 100% in an hour and a half. A subscriber on vContact asked how the Pico 4 Ultra works in the dark. Let's start by saying that no standalone device is designed to operate in darkness. Well, we took a look in complete darkness. A notification appears stating that there is not enough light, and the headset suggests turning off tracking. If it's just dim lighting, then with the Pico 4 Ultra, and the other one worked the same for me. There were some minor tracking lags, but that's normal. Overall, the headset can be used in low light from a single floor lamp. The audio system has been inherited from the original Pico 4. The 3.5mm jack is once again absent, but instead, Bluetooth headphones can be connected. In short, all games work with them except for the Beat Saber port. I don't know why, but it starts to lag terribly. Alternatively, you can use an adapter to connect wired headphones. The Pico 4 Ultra feels like a refined version of the Pico 4. It is now a worthy competitor to the Quest 3, offering a similar visual experience and features. A big plus is that when activated, you won't have to deal with VPN issues and internet workarounds. After all, not everyone can manage with the Quest 3, and the Pico 4 Ultra is not blocked in Russia. Is it worth switching from the regular Pico to the Ultra? Personally, I would switch for the displays, the new processor, and the PC VR capabilities. If you are satisfied with your native Pico 4 and don't need standalone capabilities, then you probably don't need to upgrade. The question of whether to choose the Pico 4 Ultra or the Quest 3 is quite controversial. I believe that one of the huge advantages of the Ultra and the Pico devices in general will be the new trackers. These are the only standalone headsets on the market that offer affordable proprietary trackers. We'll discuss them in a separate video, but for now, I can preliminarily say that they are awesome. Don't expect exclusive games like Asgard, Assassins, or Batman on the Pico. It is very unlikely that Pico will invest in serious content. This difference is not only in exclusive games, but also in the overall number of applications. Authors with a small budget will prefer to release on a more promising and hyped platform like Quest 3, where they can earn more. Pirating on Pico 4 Ultra. It's quite a task. Guys from Pico Land will tell you all about it in detail. The Quest. We created a developer account once a year ago and haven't touched on that issue since. We had no problems with games under the black flag. You simply connect the headset to the computer and launch the Cluder, and you have your entire library of standalone games. The price of the Pico 4 Ultra is higher than that of the Quest 3 with a minimum storage. The choice is yours. I certainly won't make it for you. Learn to make decisions on your own. But if I had to choose what to spend my money on, I would honestly buy the Quest 3. But at the same time, I can confidently say that the Pico 4 Ultra is an excellent VR headset. Well, we have tried our best to tell you everything about the Pico 4 Ultra. In fact, there are still quite a few questions that we cannot answer right now. Therefore, we will keep this headset in our use, and we will monitor all updates and share them with you. Thank you for watching, and see you in the future.